News guys, we're back in the winner's circle, 1302 to kick off our round 6 results, and that moves us halved our rank basically. We were 12,000 last week, down to 6,500, which is great news. Team value is actually up there with the top teams really. I'm actually beating, probably 5 of the top 20 in terms of team value. There are a few guys that are over 14 mil. There's a bunch around the similar mark, and there's guys at about the 14.4, 14.5. So they've obviously had a cracking start to the year, and most players doing well. Biggest issue for us at the moment is probably a few of those fringe guys in that 25. Thankfully, a bunch of the outside backs, even with their low scores this week, still did really well in terms of their team value building and their price rises. So that was great. We used a couple of trades last week, which worked out okay. And this week I've currently used 2, and we'll jump in and discuss that in a second. But overall, very happy with where we're at currently. And let's go in and have a look at our squad with the trades that we've actually made heading into round 7. So decided not to use the boost last week, which worked out well. I would have brought in Schuster, and he's out again this week. So I think with the situation around Schuster, you just leave him until he happens to clearly get into this squad. He's in the reserves, and it sounds like it's much worse than a cork or a quad strain or what he's dealing with at the moment that keeps lingering and keeps him out. He's pretty bad with soft tissue injuries, it seems like, and even guys like KO Weeks are almost a better option than Schuster at the moment, even though Weeks isn't able to get massive scores there. But I think the cheapie of the week coming into this one is probably going to be Couchman. So a solid score last week of 55. He goes up a little bit in cash, and if he continues somewhere around that 40 mark or so in points, he will make a decent amount there. Even Ben Medok-Pasilla is actually gaining some cash there. So what we're looking at now in my squad is 2 trade-ins. So Couchman comes in for Hopgood there to allow me to have space and some cash to go Walker to Nicho Hynes. And I think Nicho Hynes is clearly the best option heading into round 7 to pair Cleary with Hynes. Obviously, captaining one of them I think is the best idea there. With them being the 2 clear best scorers in the game. Cleary coming in with a couple of good ones the last few weeks to get him up to a 90 average, and he's about where we hope him to be. Him and Heinze somewhere around that sort of 85 to 90 range is just so much better than the next guys on the list. So he's a clear option this week, and I think Couchman probably the best cheapie. So they're the 2 I'm going for. The issues I'm seeing in my squad here and in many others is obviously the front row forward position. So if you're dealing with Stefano Utoikamanu this week, he's probably a trade out, but who to is the big question mark. And, Couchman doesn't help you in that position, given he's only a 2RF, but playing in the middle. But that's that there. You've got guys like Gilbert that you could do, but he hadn't scored well the last couple of weeks. Tarpany has a buy in round 8. You then have Welchie as a buy in round 9. So thankfully, that's why I kept Gilbert and did play him in this one with a nice 106. And I'll go through my game day just in a second there. But the front row forward is tough. I think really with Stefano, you probably just have to cop a 30 or 40 from someone this week, unless you have a clear guy like a Payne Haas that you can bring in for that expensive price, and you already have Cleary and Hynes, I think, because they're the 2 most important. So the 2RF is a bit of a tough one as well at the moment. Thankfully, if you did hold on to guys like Murray, coming out and performing much better over the last couple of weeks. But you look at mine here, and now I've got Fafita, Hosking, Wilton, Preston, and trading out Hopgood. So that's where I got the cash for Hynes, and that leaves me with a couple of low guys in that position as well. So still fine, and they're going to do a job for me, but definitely a position we have to look at over the next bunch of weeks. So we have Brownie there doing his thing. There's guys like Munster that are having a good crack of it. Burton's being a lot better as well. So that position not as bad as it once was, but Dewey being out definitely hurts that. And my centre wing right now is probably the biggest one we want to look at. And, Karaz brought in Marzu last week, got the 92, which is good. And I did play Hammer, so 120 for him was a big win. I'm a little bit worried for the Hammer this week against the Bunnies, and I'm also worried for the rest of my outside back. So Taruva, you'd hope that this week he can get a try or 2 against the Knights, and hopefully a line break involved in that as well, so he can actually make some more cash, but get a good score, 60 plus for us. Cam Pereira, Warbrick, and Alamotti, all those scores this week, and definitely should be worries in your side. Thankfully, they've all made a good amount of cash. You look at Taruva 404, Cam Pereira 441, Warbrick 390, and Alamotti 366. They all went up, except for Alamotti last week with his 11, and with Paul just having a bit of a shocker last week in terms of, the Dogs having a shocker, they should be able to play a bit better against the Eels. Tigers almost came back and won that one and had a half a chance to do so, even though the Eels had a bit of a day out early on with Moses putting on 4 tries there. They're not, a clear top tier side, so potentially Alamotti could be that guy to come out and do well, but not super confident on the centre wing at the moment, and with Garrick being out as well, definitely another guy that you need to stress about, given he's out this week, but will be a keeper long term. And there are a lot of good centre wings over, as options this week, and definitely if you could look to upgrade that centre wing position, would be a way of doing that. Would be the way to go as well. So something I can't do this week, I just don't think is worth it. And I have so many guys between that 500 odd mark, like Hammer. I did look at trading him out, but not having enough cash in the bank to be able to do that is a slight worry. And then sitting there with Wade Egan as well at 593, he's going to be out this week as well. But when there's really not too many not a huge amount of options in that position, like you go for Sonny Luke and those type of guys, but even then I would have to use my boost to get up to to get Wade Egan out. And then who's going to be my cover for Grant in round 9? I think that's when Egan is going to be helpful as well. So there's plenty to think about across your Supercoach teams in the next couple of weeks, with a few of those front row forwards, as I said, having buys, and then potentially some issues in round 11 as well when the Dolphins have their bye. We're looking at guys like Lockie Miller in the centre wing, who's been killing it, and he's very expensive right now as well. The last one to talk about is going to be Tom Trbojevic, 680k. Had a bit of a tough one last week. They got smashed, obviously, and he had back spasms. Should be better this week. I wouldn't be looking to captain him or anything like that, but I think you just hold him with, some better options returning, and Latrell going really well. You got Teddy in there who's doing his thing. Like you look at the centre wing as well. You got Brian To'o who's scoring much better as well. So all potential options and potential trade outs, but Walsh, I think you just got to hold steady. He's been one of the best scorers in there this year. Would you trade Tom Trbojevic to like a Dill Edwards? I don't think so. I think you just hold steady with Tommy and just hope he improves from there. Guys like Isaiah Katoa just still making a little bit of cash for us, and as I said, like overall my team's done really well in terms of team value, with just a couple of guys like Murdoch Masila and Davi Moale being pretty poor options at that cheap price, but no one really was. Like people went Moale, Pele, all those guys that haven't done really well. So, other guys like Jackson Ford, would you pick him? I don't really think he's too much of a high priority now, considering he just went up about 70k with that meat pie at the back end. He didn't play super well before that try, but a nicely run line worked out really well for him. So that's that there with my side and my potential trades. Let me know in the comments what trades you're making, and if you would make any different trades in my squad. But you're looking at my game day there. We had Harry Grant with the 65, was okay. He was my vice, so thankfully he didn't go anywhere near like 100, 110. Otherwise we would have thought to potentially loop him. But yeah, you really want sort of 125, 130 plus there at this point of the season, especially when you got Grant. You got Cleary there who can go bonkers like he did. Sammy Walker, the 41. So him moving on to Hynes is going to be an upgrade. The Roosters were so bad. He had a nice try assist to start, but other than that, not good. Playing Hammer and Gilbert worked out really well. I almost benched Gilbert. Tapani being out just made that very clear and easy to play Gilbert in this one, and got a nice try. So the double 100 in that game, the only two players I had, was very nice. Taruva, the 44, average. Egan getting injured in that one wasn't great. 23, he was doing okay. Wasn't a great end to the round, to be honest with you. I was hoping for more from Dylan Brown. I was hoping for more from Hopgood. That wasn't to be. And then Egan was my third to last player. So, was projected to get a lot more when Cleary went bonkers, but it wasn't to be. Walsh and Karaz were okay. Like Karaz were hoping for a little bit more, but 51 in a really well beaten side. It is what it is. Preston, hopefully a bounce back from him. He, with unfortunately the news of Kikau going down today, that Preston becomes even more important on that edge, and I think he'll be fine. A little extra time for his hand to heal. He'll be better for the run without that sin bin as well. Hosking keeps his spot, which is good news. We'll keep playing him. Trbojevic, you doubt he scores that bad again. And then we had some good scores in Fafita and Marzu, and Fafita could have got even more. So there was a lot of potential to go even bigger last week. We take the 1302 with Cleary as captain as well. I know there was a good chunk of people that captained Walsh. which was solid there with his decent score, but Cleary was the clear best option there. And then the emergency is not great at all with all those guys. The highest there with Isaiah Katoa, and I held on to Teague Wilton for his 0 with the bye, obviously. But yeah, 16 Camperera, 27 Murdoch Masila, 11 Alamoti Moale with 25, Warbrick 16. Hoping for better ones from them so they can either continue to make money or hold price over this week. And then there's a bunch of the guys in that list that we're going to have to potentially move on so we can get them to a better cash cow and do better things there. And Tarpany back is going to help us, and hopefully he is able to get a little bit of rest, a little bit of sleep, and come out and do really well, and hopefully get a try this week. We're due for an assist or a bunch of offloads or a line break or something for Tarpany. Who's been really well contained heading into the first portion of this year, and hopefully with a win under the Raiders' belt, he can come out and have a cracker game. But that is my Supercoach review and preview for the week, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. A little bit more short and sharp this week. I thought that was the best way to go about it. But yeah, there you go. Have fun, guys, and good luck.